Welcome to the Veterinary Marketing Podcast, where it's all about helping your veterinary practice attract, engage, and retain clients. Broadcasting a new podcast every Monday from sunny Southern California, here's your host, Brandon Bashirs.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode number 160 of the Veterinary Marketing Podcast. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today, we are going to be talking about Instagram marketing. Today's part one of two. We're going to do just a series on this really quick here because it's important. I think Instagram is just exploding with ad types and new ad placements, new content types and things. So I think it's time that we revisit it. I know we've spoken about it a few times in the past, but it's just extremely important. And the reason why is because the users are there, the engagement is there, the daily use is there, and so your clients and your customers are absolutely spending time on Instagram. So that's why you need to be working on Instagram, in my opinion. So we're going to talk about different types of content on there. This first episode, we're going to break it down by profile, engagement, content types, and things like that. Next episode, we're going to talk about ads because there's now 8 ad placements inside of Instagram. And if you know me, you know I love doing digital marketing ads. And so that's going to be a good episode. We're going to talk about the different ad placements and calls to action and ad content types and things. So you're going to want to make sure you catch next episode, which means you absolutely should be subscribed in iTunes or Google Play or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure that you're subscribed so that you don't miss an episode. All right, so before we begin, a few things. First, if again you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe in iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you're not a member of the Veterinary Marketing Nerds Facebook group, you should be. So jump in there, get engaged, ask questions if you need help, collaborate, and listen. And let me know if you need anything. That's a great place to reach out, though. All right, the last thing is, if you haven't gotten my digital marketing planner and you're trying to create a plan regarding your digital marketing, create a calendar, or just want to get things organized in your mind, the planner is a great tool to do that. If you go to Amazon and search for my name, Brandon Bashirs, or Digital Marketing Planner, you'll see it there. You can buy it on Amazon and it'll be shipped to you quickly on Amazon Prime. Also, if you want to get the free training course that's associated with that, if you go to veterinarymarketingpodcast.com/planner, you can get a copy of the planner there and also that register for free for the training. Obviously, it goes with the planner, so if you don't have it, it is helpful to get it. All right, let's jump into today's episode. We are talking about Instagram. Instagram is amazing from a marketer standpoint because we have a tremendous user base. There are a lot of advertisers in there, but just some interesting stats around Instagram. There are 600 million stories published every single day inside of Instagram, which is amazing. And, there was actually a pretty significant fight, in my opinion, between Instagram and Snapchat a couple years ago. And then Instagram added stories, and that really took the wind out of Snapchat sales as far as content that even younger demographics liked to use. And so stories are a really rich and engaging way to connect with your followers and also have people discover you as well. We'll talk about a few things with that. But it's a very visual platform, and I think that what's interesting is that it just is continuing to get additional users. I don't think it has the same kind of problems that Facebook is having right now with its user base and just engagement and content and things. So if you weren't familiar with it, but Facebook came out several weeks ago and said, you know what, we're going to be focusing primarily on groups, messaging, and privacy, and that's it. It's very interesting because the current platform and product is built around its news feed, and so they're going to be shifting it completely. So it's going to be interesting to see what that looks like in a few years. But Instagram is owned by Facebook, and so that's good news for Facebook because it's keeping them afloat from a user standpoint. And they're also able to add additional ad types and different kinds of content types and all kinds of really cool things that we're going to talk about in the next episode about ads. So let's get into the basics of Instagram. And if you're using Instagram, you're probably not going to get that much out of this. We're going to go over the basics first, and then we're going to get in depth on a few different strategies that I see working really well right now. But the first thing that it works is that there are three different content types that you can put out. You have the Instagram feed, you have stories, and then you have IGTV now. And IGTV is getting more and more popular just because Instagram is pushing out this new product. And it's new, in quotes, I say that with air quotes, because it's been around for a while, but it just hasn't really gone anywhere. But now that they've added a feature to this where you can put a 60-second preview in the Instagram feed, and they're pushing out these videos quite a bit. So it's long-form content. If you have less than 10,000 followers on Instagram, you can put up to a 10-minute video, which is interesting. And you can also use that video inside of stories. And I like the way that the platform integrates within itself, that you can share pieces of content in different, the different mediums and things. So let's talk about the Instagram feed first, which is the basics. But you can have several different types of content here. You can have still photos, which is great. I think that one of the biggest things that I heard that was interesting was that, photography is universal. And so you don't need to have, a language barrier. It just is universal. If you see a picture of a mother holding a baby, right, that has a universal image. If you see a picture of a cute dog, there's a universal image that it transcends language. And so I think that's what makes Instagram so powerful, is that it is this medium that is just built around images. And that being said, with images, there are, especially on Instagram, it's like the highlight reel where people are putting so super curated, super edited, kind of the best of the best of life. And so it's not necessarily realistic, but that's what you're dealing with, and that's what you're competing with. When we're on Facebook, we have, the political fights that happen, right? That's kind of what you're competing with. You see your friends and your family updates, and then you get into fights about politics on Facebook. And that's kind of a joke, but it's kind of not, right? That's where all of the political dumpster fire is going on right now. And so Instagram, the alternative, that what you're competing with and what's there, if you see what's popular, it's beautiful locations and beautiful people and beautiful puppies, right? Because you're in the veterinary industry. So puppies are actually really, really popular on Instagram, but that's what it is. So inside of your posts, you have things that you can do. You can use hashtags, and my suggestion is that you comment in using the hashtags, just because it helps you to get better engagement and distribution instead of putting it in the post description. And people engage. They can either follow you in your profile, they can follow specific hashtags or locations as well. And so that being said, that they will be scrolling through their feed, and they'll either see the hashtag that you tagged it if they're following. So like, for example, if you're following vet medicine hashtag, you'll see occasionally posts that are in the vet medicine hashtag inside of your Instagram feed. So we have that. We have the carousel, which you can put multiple different pictures. And I see a lot of people in veterinary medicine using this, especially when they have gory pictures, which I think is super cool, because they are saying, hey, warning, there's some graphic images coming, and then the next images are sliding over. I think of Dr. Michael Miller, who does Harry Potter Vet. He does this a lot, which is cool, that he warns people. I don't get grossed out by the pictures, but I know that a lot of clients and customers do for veterinary industry, so it's, I think, cool to do that. And so, anyways, you have that, and then you have videos, and you can do up to 60 seconds of video inside of the Instagram feed. Now, it used to be that they only supported square, but they now support all of the dimensions as far as either portrait or landscape, and you can post those directly to the Instagram newsfeed. But it has to be, again, 60 seconds. You can trim it down, and you can put multiple videos together and do things like that, but it has to be up to 60 seconds. Now, if you're doing ads, you can run up to 2-minute ads. They just recently increased the time there. So then we have the next kind of content that we have inside of Instagram is stories. And stories is it's definitely the most popular kind of engaging content that's out there in Instagram right now. And it's, if you think about it, I tend to think about it like you're just flipping through TV channels until you find something interesting. It's up to 15 seconds of video or still pictures, and you can do all kinds of different pieces of engagement content inside of there. So natively, you can post and tag. You can do live streams inside of stories as well, which doesn't have a time limit. You can do just written stuff inside of there where you're just writing and typing. You can pull up older pictures. You can pull up pictures that you take with your phone natively. You can pull up older videos. And so if you have a video that's longer than 15 seconds, it'll automatically chop it into 15-second segments, and then you can edit each segment. Within each segment that you have there on Instagram, each story segment, you can ask questions, you can do polls, you can tag people, you can do hashtags, you can add GIFs to it. There's just so many different ways to create engaging content on here. And I think that's what makes it so popular, is that the medium is super engaging and really customizable too. It's not just, super cookie cutter. And you can make stuff that is really, really engaging. The next content type is IGTV, which is new. Now, it used to be that IGTV you could only upload into portrait, which was difficult because if you created a longer form video, you had to then export it in 1980 by 1020 or whatever the dimension is for HD landscape, and then you'd also have to export it in portrait. And so just that extra layer of production made it a little bit difficult, in my opinion, for most people to be posting on both spots. And so anyways, IGTV, they're really making a push to try to they want people consuming long form video content, not just 60-second videos or 15-second stories. They want the long form engagement. And I see that being a huge deal because especially with creators and at some point monetizing the platform for creators, and also creating ad spots inside of the platform, they are going to need this ad revenue to keep the numbers going up. And so I see them just pushing this, trying to figure it out, because they need some kind of a way to get people to engage more. So this totally makes sense why they're pushing it out. So if you have any of these kind of videos where it's longer form, longer than 60 seconds, but not longer than 10 minutes, and if your practice has these kind of videos, if you publish them to IGTV, I think that's a good play, because you're going to get more organic distribution right now. So let's talk, though, really quick about your profile. Your profile needs to be set up in a way that is just brand consistent with your other profiles, in my opinion. You need to have your description, your location tagged. It needs to be set up as a business profile, not as a personal profile. You need to connect it to your Facebook page, which is easy to do. You just log in and connect them, and then you just make sure that you're set up as a business profile. The other things that you can do is you can add emails and phone numbers so that people can call or email or get directions to your practice as well. So those are the buttons that are on the profile, and it just needs to be completed so that it doesn't look incomplete. A lot of people like to create content that has kind of a specific feel to it. So I think that especially if you see people that are doing, really a great job at creating branded content on Instagram. My personal Instagram, I use just a lot of personal. It's not so much of a business pushing brand, although I will connect with people on Instagram, and I will just use it as a personal connection tool to engage with people that are either interesting to me or that are potential clients for digital marketing stuff, or potential people to connect with and collaborate with in the digital marketing space. So that's personally what I'm using it for. So it's definitely super personal branding. It's not necessarily a good example of what a veterinary practice would be. But I see several people, it's not just several, but a lot of practices are getting into Instagram, and they're doing an amazing job at it. And, when I think about Instagram, too, as far as in the veterinary space, we have Danielle Lampert. She does an amazing job at just brand consistency and consistency in posting, and really working it in a way that is, built for longevity. And, specifically her stories and the posts that she does, she even has color branded, that everything has a similar look and feel, and she's using long-form content in her Instagram feed. And so, she's just doing an amazing work inside of Instagram. So check her profile out for Danielle Lampert. And then, I see other people like Cody Creelman. He's doing an amazing job, and incorporating his personal brand, and just the stuff that he's doing there too. So he's doing amazing as well. And I just see I think that the veterinary industry is really getting Instagram in general. And that's, I think, super exciting. So once you have your profile filled out, you understand the different types of content. I think there's several kinds of content that you can be pushing out there. And it's, I think, kind of easy to think about it from a perspective of like pulling from different types. And maybe you could call these like content pillars, right? The different types of content, and spreading these in throughout the feed and stories and different places, and using these in different spots is going to be helpful. But here's just some kinds of content ideas that work well inside of Instagram. So we have behind the scenes content, user generated content, which is super cool. I see takeovers, and specifically like for Uncharted Vet, Kelsey Carpenter is using Instagram really well for the Uncharted Veterinary Conference. But user-generated content from that perspective is really cool. That would be, you'd have to kind of figure out what that means in terms of a veterinary practice, maybe different employees creating content for the day. That'd be cool. And then product demos and showcases. This is something that is, when you see content inside of Instagram that works well from a commerce standpoint, stuff that sells and actually gets people to take action, it's like a product demo and a showcase. So people, especially because it's such a visual platform, people believe with their eyes. They see something, they believe it. And if you think about like there's interesting gadgets or, like life hack type things that you see in Instagram as far as ad types, you see it and it's immediately clear what it does and what the benefit is and why you need it. And so I think about, specifically drop shipping products that these people are selling, like cable organizers or like special chairs or, just weird things like that immediately shows it's like an infomercial that was on TV, like the Slap Chop or, Billy Mays selling some kind of a product. That's kind of what works really well. So showing the benefit immediately is something that's cool. Educational content on there. So, specifically client education. Why do you need this? Why is this important? What does the before and after look like? That kind of stuff. Culture focused content, which is showing, the human side of your brand and letting people engage with your company and get to know who works there, what they're all about, what they like to do, and show your personality off. Then there's fun and lighthearted, which always does well, especially because you have so many great things to be posting about. You're in the veterinary industry. Then customer stories, that's amazing as well. Get to know the team, and then team member takeovers, I guess, is technically like user-generated content. So these different content types can be placed in each one of the different content areas inside of Instagram. And again, we have the Instagram feed, we have stories, and then we have IGTV. And then we can also link between each one of these feeds. Now, I think it's important that you're posting regularly on stories because that's where a lot of the consumption happens and a lot of discovery happens. Make sure that you're hashtagging all of your content with appropriate hashtags. I like to actually track and see which hashtags are most effective. And so specifically tagging your city, location tagging, and then also doing hashtags of your city. And then make sure that you're following your city hashtags and locations so that you can engage. I think that with Instagram and becoming successful at Instagram takes a lot of work. And it's going to produce returns and clients coming into your practice, but you're going to have to act like you're actually a person and you're engaging and trying to build relationships with people here. So my favorite strategy built around this, I think, is probably Gary Vaynerchuk's, it's called 18 cents strategy, right? So it's a take on the 2 cents. I'll give you my 2 cents. And so he says that what you should do is you should find something that's significant to your brand or your business, and then you should follow that hashtag. So specifically, like if you're doing, you should be following your town. And people love posting pictures of their dogs, and they'll tag their town and they'll do the hashtags and stuff. And so if you see people posting about dogs or stuff to do with dogs, you jump in there and you actually comment, and you make a comment that looks like a real person engaging, making something positive, offering some help, being positive and showing up and engaging and building a conversation around that. And so I think that this is the best way to actually meet people on Instagram that are going to be potential clients and potential customers. You jump in there and you engage, and you don't try to overdo it, but you just try and find 9 people per day to engage with. And it could be less than that. You could do 5, or you could do 10, you could do 20, whatever you want to do. But actually jumping in and building connections and relationships with people who are using the platform that clearly have pets and dogs that can be customers and clients that can actually walk in the door, that's going to be helpful. And so if you comment and you engage and you're positive, people will say, hey, I need to come in for, they'll typically follow you back, possibly. And if they don't, so what? You're still just showing up and being positive. But they'll follow you back, and then the next time you post, hey, we're having a dental month special, they'll be like, hey, my puppy needs dental work. I should come in and give it a shot. And that's actually how it works inside of Instagram. So that's super cool. So I think that the platform is just amazing in general. If you're not using it regularly, you should use it because it will help you to become a better creator inside of the platform. I think if you're not using something, it's hard to know exactly what works and what doesn't. Another thing that I love to do is when I see something that works well or something that's different or something that's taken off, I typically screenshot it so that I can have that engagement recorded and refer back to it, because it's good to get inspiration from other creators and other advertisers. So I really I'm going to tell you really quick some of the different content channels that I really enjoy to follow on Instagram. So one that I follow a lot is Conor McGregor. He's a UFC fighter, and I know that sounds weird, but he's selling also clothing and whiskey on Instagram, which is just interesting. And the way that he creates his posts and his content and his branding, I think he does a really good job. And I know that might not resonate too well with the veterinary medicine audience that we have for the podcast, but you take a look at his content in terms of, wow, that's a cool idea. I really like how he made that post and he tagged all of his products in there. Like, that's cool. How can I do that? I also love Disney's content. Obviously, Disney is amazing at their storytelling. They have tremendous assets from characters and storytelling. And so just the way that they're actively, natively engaging. And the way that they do stories is fantastic, too. So be sure to follow Disney. And along that lines, Disney Cruises also is wonderful. And then another one that I really like following is Rolls-Royce. And the way that they storytell on Instagram, it's really well suited, though, because, again, as I mentioned, it's kind of like the highlight reel of the internet. And so what's more highlight reel than Rolls-Royce, right? So they just do a really amazing job in their content, their posts, and creating engagement inside of those things. So those are just a few ideas. I know that there's way more depth and so much more that we could go into, but I think that the most important thing is that you're actively using the platform, that you're actively posting, and I think consistency is so much more important than typically anything else. So following up, showing up, and building an audience inside of Instagram is going to be important. So if you ever have any questions or you need help with anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. I hope that you enjoyed this podcast episode. Be sure to go and listen next week. We're going to talk about the 8 different ad placements, how to use them, what the calls to action look like, how you can use them to actually grow your veterinary practice. All right. Thanks so much. Have a good week. See you next weekend.